In this video, we begin dealing with our first metaphysical primacy issue, God reality. We are adding a philosophical tool called ontological frameworks to our toolbox.
Ontology is the branch of metaphysics that studies the nature of existence or being. A philosophical theory is ultimately bound by the construct of its ontological framework, the implicit, unstated, or given conditions of its being out of which everything else arises. A worldview is the mental lens through which someone interprets everything they experience, including beliefs about knowledge, morality, meaning, and purpose. An ontological framework is a foundation of that worldview, focused specifically on questions about what kinds of things are real and how they relate to one another. For example, consider 3 different ontological frameworks which give rise to different activities or states of existence: golfing, kayaking, and snowboarding. The ontological framework for the golfer is the golf course. For kayaking, it is the river and rapids. For the snowboarder, it is the mountains and snow. What happens if someone mixes up the ontological frameworks?
Getting the ontological framework wrong can have disastrous and dangerous consequences. For example, imagine someone showing up to the golf course, sweating in their thick winter clothing, hitting their golf ball with a snowboard. Imagine someone trying to drive their golf cart down the river rapids. Or imagine someone speeding down a ski run with the full heavy weight of their golf clubs on their back. Which ontological framework do you think eternalism should study? A far more comprehensive ontological framework would be the Earth, and greater yet, the universe as a whole. Eternalism is not only interested in a framework for 100 years of mortal existence, but is much more interested in a framework to guide us for millions of years of our existence. Elder Neil A. Maxwell said,
"For those who believe we are all going to be around forever, it is both natural and wise to concern ourselves with such questions and also with such principles which are also going to be around forever."
Eternalism's ontological framework contains all that is, was, or ever will be. The universe is the ultimate ontological framework, the totality of everything that exists.
President Brigham Young described the comprehensive nature of the restored gospel.
How much of it is true? All of it. How much does it embrace? All the truth that there is in the heavens, on the earth, under the earth. And if there is any truth in hell, this doctrine claims it. Yes, if there is a truth among the ungodly and wicked, it belongs to us. And if there is a truth in hell, it is ours. The philosophy of the heavens and the earth, of the worlds that are, that were, and that are yet to come into existence, is all in the gospel that we have embraced.
The comprehensive claims of the restored gospel is a formidable challenge. Eternalism must be able to integrate all things without contradiction. This includes accommodating any future discoveries that may be made.
Regarding God, man, and the universe, there are 3 major competing frameworks, only one of which eternalism declares to be true. Let's go through each, describing the differences. In the following 3 frameworks, we use a sunburst symbol to represent God. We use a dot to represent mankind, and we use a box to represent the universe. First, we analyze the framework representing the 3 major monotheistic religions: traditional Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The universe is represented as a box. Where do they put God? They place God outside of reality, God outside the box. With God outside of reality, he creates reality ex nihilo, which means out of nothing. In this framework, man exists within the box. This God outside the box framework is the absolutism of God, or the primacy of consciousness. Next, let's analyze the mythology of the Greeks and pagans. They also have the universe represented as a box. Where do they put God? They place God inside the box, along with mankind, both as part of reality. With God being inside of reality, his creations are ex materia, which means out of matter that already exists, rather than being brought into existence from nothing. This God inside the box framework is the absolutism of reality, or the primacy of existence. Lastly, we analyze Eastern mysticism. They too have the universe represented as a box. Where do they put God? For Eastern mysticism, God is the box. They also place mankind within the box. This God is the box framework is pantheism, or the belief that God and the universe are identical. For pantheism, everything that exists, nature, matter, energy, space, time, is God, and God is everything. Let's ask some questions about each of these frameworks. In the God outside the box model, what is mankind's incentive? In this model, mankind wants to get out of the box. The box is painful, restrictive, and keeping us from God. This perspective leads to the asceticism, transcendence, and mysticism of the Great Apostasy. This understanding of the world led monks and clergy to seek withdrawal from it, embracing poverty, chastity, and bodily mortification as the surest path to God. In the God inside the box model, what is mankind's incentive? To get along with the box. Since there is no outside the box, mankind's incentive is to learn the rules of reality in order to master them and progress. A shortened way of stating this is abide by nature's laws and abound in progression. In the God is the box model, what is mankind's incentive? To become one with the box. This means literally to lose your personal identity and all personal desires. The reincarnation of Eastern mysticism means multiple cycles of death and rebirth. The word nirvana means blowing out or extinguishing the self. With the self completely extinguished, the result is a state of perfect oblivion, peace, freedom from suffering, and release from the endless cycle of death and rebirth. Now that we understand these three frameworks, which framework does the restored gospel follow in its philosophy of eternalism? Eternalism claims the God inside the box framework of the restoration. All the doctrines of the restoration belong here, where God exists inside of reality along with mankind. The God outside the box of reality is essentially the abomination Joseph Smith was warned about. All the doctrines of the great apostasy belong here. In the God outside the box framework, many contradictions crop up, such as supernatural miracles and the problem of evil. Donald Bloch summarized this God outside the box framework.
In order to find God, man must rise above the realm of the material, where evil resides, and ascend to the realm of pure spirit. Salvation lies outside of time, history, and corporeality. The sovereign God of the Bible cannot be put in a box.
Did you know Joseph Smith said there was a great secret associated with the restoration? What do you think it is?
We have imagined and supposed that God was God from all eternity. I will refute that idea and take away the veil so that you may see. There are but a very few beings in the world who understand rightly the character of God. God himself was once as we are now, and is an exalted man, and sits enthroned in yonder heavens. That is the great secret.
Elder Orson Pratt said,
The true God exists both in time and in space, and has as much relation to them as man or any other being. He has extension and form and dimension as well as man. He occupies space, has a body, parts, and passions.
Elder John A. Widtsoe said,
Joseph Smith departed from the notion that God is a being foreign to nature and wholly superior to it. Instead, he taught that God is part of nature. The great laws of nature are immutable, and even God cannot transcend them. His godhood, however, is the product of simple obedience to the laws of the universe. God, himself a part of nature, is not the creator of nature, but the organizer and director of it. What a beautifully reasonable climax that is to the wonderful philosophy of Joseph the prophet.
Now that we understand the three competing frameworks, let's analyze which of the three frameworks do not violate eternalism's three axioms. The God outside the box framework violates two of eternalism's three axioms. The existence axiom is violated by creatio ex nihilo, which is the claim that existence was created out of non-existence by an absolute supreme consciousness. The identity axiom is violated by supernatural miracles, overriding the laws of nature based on non-identifiable, non-explainable supernaturalism. Being consistent thinkers, we cannot accept a framework that has contradictions violating the axioms. The God is the box framework also violates eternalism's axioms, but in a different way. In this framework, the pantheism and reincarnation of Eastern mysticism claims that existence is the same as consciousness. This yin and yang perspective of embracing contradictions destroys identity by declaring something to be both A and not A at the same time in what is called mixed premises.
Philosophically, the arbitrary is worse than the false. The false has a relation, albeit negative, to the facts of reality. The arbitrary, however, has no relation to evidence or context. Neither term, therefore, true or false, can be applied to it.
The arbitrary mixed premises of Eastern mysticism don't have a consistent set of primacy issues that can be analyzed as being either true or false, so we will not discuss the contradictions of Eastern mysticism in the rest of this course. Being consistent thinkers, we cannot accept a framework that has contradictions violating the axioms.
Knowing what we stand for also tells us what we stand against.
Anytime we declare something to be true, we have picked a fight with that which is untrue.
The rest of this eternalism course will analyze the primacy issues from the God outside the box framework of historical Christianity compared to the God inside the box framework of the Restoration. In the God outside the box framework, the question becomes which God? This was the trouble that Joseph Smith experienced when he ran into various preachers all interpreting God in their own way and describing the attributes of God differently. The God outside the box framework of the apostasy has a number of other problems as well, including the problem of evil.
Soaked as it is with human suffering and moral evil, how is it possible that our world is the work of an almighty, perfectly loving creator?
Throughout the centuries, the problem of evil, where people encounter suffering in the world, has been one of the most significant causes of doubt for the existence of God. The existence of evil seems incompatible with an all-loving, all-powerful creator, so they conclude that such a God must not exist. If God created everything ex nihilo, out of nothing according to his own will, then it follows that he is the one primarily responsible for the evil we see around us. And we start asking questions like, if God could create reality any way he willed, why didn't he create the universe better, without evil, suffering, death, and destruction? Logically, it follows that anyone who creates evil must themselves be evil. A second contradiction arising in the God outside the box framework is the atonement of Christ. Doesn't an atonement seem unnecessary and cruel for an absolute God who could just change reality however he wills? Why require the murder of his son to cover a problem he himself created and could will to be otherwise? Eternalism's answer to the problem of evil is that the apparent contradiction only exists within a false God outside the box framework where God is declared to be absolute. In the God inside the box framework of eternalism, reality is absolute and therefore God didn't create evil. President Brigham Young said,
"The principle of falsehood and wickedness, the power of the devil and the power of death are also from eternity to eternity. When truth comes, error comes also."
Evil coexisting with good as a part of eternal reality is how God is blameless. Everything he does is to warn us and help us overcome evil and choose the good. Eternal laws being part of reality itself, independent of God, explains the need for justice to be paid with Christ's atonement.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Christian Eternalism YouTube channel and visit christianeternalism.org